As far as exotic travel goes, and many other things for that matter, I was something of a late bloomer. I was 22 years old before I flew on a plane for the very first time. Today, though, Angela and I have stumbled our way around the world more than a few times, visiting over 50 countries along the way. Now that our 4 children are all grown up and are officially out of the nest, Angela and I have embarked on yet another global circumvention, this time accompanied by our dog, Ernie. Prior to this trip, if you had asked me to point out Belgium on a map, I probably would have embarrassed myself, something that I'm pretty good at. It's ironic since Brussels serves as the capital of this seductive continent. I'd heard about Belgian chocolate, I'd heard about Belgian waffles, I'd heard about the the Belgian fries, and of course, I'd slugged down more than my fair share of Belgian beers. But there was so much more that we weren't expecting. A whole lot more. As the chief administrative headquarters of the European Union, Brussels is a cosmopolitan city, bustling with the energy of numerous cultural collisions. The streets here are loud and vibrant, packed with tourists and bureaucrats from all over the world. You can find just about anything here, from high-end shopping to low-end debauchery. Speaking of debauchery, I don't know if the crime is rampant here or if the police are just eager to end their shift and get home, but the sirens here are ever persistent in the city center. You know that siren sound we Americans distinctly associate with Europe? Yeah, that one. As you can see in Belgium, there are also tons, especially in Brussels, tons of public parks. And you kind of need them because you know what? One thing they're very big on, they love a siren here. I don't know whether it's because it's the European capital, but it seems that every time you see a police car, they are screaming on their way to something. And I don't get the feeling it's crime related. I get the feeling they're ushering somebody along or they're escorting somebody from the airport to the EU buildings, all the administrative offices. I don't know what the deal is, but as you can hear, they love a siren. But they compensate with lots of great parks. So we've been able to take Ernie all through the different parks. Somewhere smack dab in the middle of all this bureaucratic hustle and bustle is the statue of a little boy peeing in a fountain. It's called Manneken Pis, and if you're not paying close attention, you'll stroll right on by this larger-than-life statue, which is literally less than 2 feet tall. It's kind of like seeing the Mona Lisa for the first time. You know, you're a lot shorter than I thought you'd be. Just like I don't particularly understand why Brussels was chosen as the capital of Europe. I mean, not to diminish its merit, I just don't understand it. it's hard to comprehend why Manneken Pis has been such a popular attraction since at least the 1500s. In fact, this little pissant has been stolen so many times over the centuries that this is a replica, and it's been here since 1965, while the original is kept in the Brussels City Museum.
What a pisser.
From Brussels, we rented a car and drove north. Our first stop was the historic town of Ghent. Ghent is a college town, and you can see it in her cobblestone streets. Students dart around aimless tourists like us on electric bikes and scooters, no doubt late to their next class or late to meet their friends at the pub. And their collegiate creativity can be seen on the streets here, right alongside the stunning architecture of medieval masters. On Graffiti Street, for example, artists can spray paint until their hearts are content. And so this alleyway reportedly never looks the same from one week to the next. There's only one rule on this street with no rules: respect artistic talent that's better than your own. Ghent city center is pedestrian only. Well, until we came along.
Mike and I set out to spend the day and find a parking place, which wasn't easy. Navigation directed us in such a way that it literally took us down the main pedestrian walkway in the center of Ghent.
We have been on a lot of stressful drives in our lives, but I have to admit, we've been going through the mountains of Myanmar. We've been going on mountain passes in Ecuador, driving on motorcycles through the streets of Bangkok, and I'm telling you, there are very few things in life more stressful than trying to park in Europe.
For legal reasons, I won't share any video of my international crime until I'm safely away from the EU authorities on another continent. Next, we drove north to the Belgian coast, where we used our Airbnb in the tiny town of Middelkerke to explore nearby beaches and Dunkirk, which was hardly a 40-minute drive across the French border.
I'm on a beach in northern Belgium. We're north of Bruges, about 20 minutes. And actually, I believe if one were so inclined to get into a kayak or paddleboard and head that way, you'd be finding yourself in Great Britain before very long. Dunkirk is a little bit this way, and further up the coast this way is the Netherlands.
But the best was in Bruges. Bruges is sometimes referred to as the Venice of the North, although I think that's completely unnecessary and that there's no real need for such comparisons. She stands on her own.
We took a canal boat tour, and you don't really realize all of the beauty of Bruges from the street. As beautiful as it is, you don't get the full scope of the beauty until you get on one of those boats in the canals, and then you see it for all it is.
The city's name likely derives from the old Dutch word for bridge, and boy, does she live up to that name. Some of the bridges here are so old they actually have stalactites hanging underneath. Bruges has been a known settlement since prehistoric times, and the first fortifications were built here during Julius Caesar's reign in the 1st century BC to protect against pirates. The fortifications came in handy again in the 9th century when those pesky Vikings started poking their swords around these parts. And then the Germans occupied Bruges during both World Wars. But surprisingly, the city suffered virtually no damage during either conflict, making it one of the best preserved medieval towns in all of Europe. Bruges' impressive medieval structures include the Church of Our Lady, whose brick spire reaches some 379 feet, making it one of the tallest brick buildings in the world. It was really beautiful with all the canals, and the architecture is just magical. And we found some great restaurants there. Ernie, again, welcome everywhere, and in fact, quite a little bit of an attention getter, quite honestly. What we thought we'd find in Belgium, after we were able to find it on the map, that is, was chocolate, waffles, fries, and beer. But we also found dogs, and we found art and architecture, and we found bridges and bikes, and we found Christmas markets and food and hospitality. And we heard sirens, lots and lots and lots of sirens. And we found a little boy who, frankly, doesn't give one piss whether we understand any of it.